History can be really weird. It's full of strange rhymes and echoes. But every once in a while, you find a pattern that's so specific, so bizarre, it just makes you stop and think. Today, we're diving into one of those exact patterns. It's a really strange connection between two of Europe's most important rulers, who were separated by a huge gulf of time. So let's take a look at the evidence.
Okay, so here are our two main players. On the one hand, you've got Theoderic the Great, king of the Ostrogoths, a huge figure right at the end of the Roman Empire. And on the other, Otto the Great, king of the East Franks, who was basically foundational to the Holy Roman Empire. Now, these guys are separated by almost 500 years. They lived in completely different worlds. Or did they?
Because somehow, the most important moments of their lives, their reigns, their legacies, are all connected by this one super specific number, 462. Not around 460, not almost 500. No, exactly 462 years. And this number, this is the key to this whole mystery. So let's actually dig into the evidence. We're going to walk through the big milestones in the lives of both Theodoric and Otto, and you're going to see just how deep this 462-year rabbit hole really goes. Okay, first thing, the moment they each took power, Theodoric becomes king of the Ostrogoths in the year 474. Now, if you fast forward exactly 462 years from that date, you land in 936. And what happened in 936? It's the exact year Otto the Great became king of the East Franks. It's a perfect match. The first piece of our puzzle just clicks right into place. And the pattern keeps going when you look at the center of their world, which was, of course, Rome. Theodoric marched into Rome and set up his rule there in the year 500. So what happens if you add 462 years to that? Well, you get 962, the very same year Otto entered Rome and was crowned emperor. The pattern holds up again. Every great ruler has that one defining military victory, right? For Theodoric, it was the huge Battle of Ravenna in 493. For Otto, it was his historic win against the Hungarians at the Battle of Lechfeld in 955. So what's the time gap between these two massive legacy-defining moments? Yeah, you guessed it, 462 years. And this goes beyond just numbers and dates. Check out this quote from the historian Procopius. He described Theodoric as a true emperor who just didn't happen to have the official title. Now, think about Otto. Right after his huge victory at Lechfeld, what did his army do? They hailed him as imperator, emperor, right there on the battlefield, way before he was officially crowned in Rome. So both of them were seen as emperors in spirit by the people around them. So we've got this number, 462, that just keeps popping up. It's so precise, it almost feels intentional. But what if 462 isn't the final answer? What if it's actually a clue that points to a totally different way of thinking about time, a way that might make this whole connection even crazier?
So I need to introduce you to a concept called the Spanish era, or just ERA. It's basically an alternative calendar, and it's thought that the Goths might have used it. The important thing to know is that it starts its count 38 years before our standard AD calendar begins. Just remember that 38-year offset.
Okay, so now let's apply this to Otto. We take the year he was crowned emperor in Rome, 962 AD. Then we add that 38-year offset from the Spanish era calendar. And what do we get? The result is the year 1000 era. A perfect, round, and really symbolic number. And here's the big reveal. Using this Gothic calendar, Otto's coronation in Rome suddenly becomes the year 1000. Now, remember Theodoric? He entered Rome in 500 AD. So the gap between Theodoric's 500 AD and Otto's 1000 era, it's not some random 462 years anymore. It's a perfect, symbolic 500 years, a half millennium. This kind of suggests that the pattern might have been understood, maybe even shaped, by people who were actually using this other calendar. The coincidence just got a whole lot deeper. I mean, as if the parallels between the two men themselves weren't mind-blowing enough, the pattern actually expands. It starts to cover their entire royal families. So these echoes, they're not just between two guys, they resonate through their whole dynasties. Just look at the lifespan of their entire royal lines. The Ostrogothic dynasty, from its beginning to its end, lasted for 105 years. Okay, so what about the Ottonian dynasty centuries later? It also lasted for the exact same amount of time, 105 years. Not close, not about 105, exactly 105 years. And the similarities in what happened next are just uncanny.
Both of them arranged a really important political marriage for their child. Okay, but then look at their grandsons. Theodoric's grandson, Athalaric, and Otto's grandson, Otto III. Both of them reigned for just 6 years. Both died tragically young, one at 18, the other at 22. And in both situations, the young ruler's mother had to step in and rule as regent. It's like their family stories are almost mirror images of each other.
But wait, there is one last layer to this whole historical puzzle, and it brings us right back to Rome. But this time, we're not talking about emperors. We're talking about the popes. Check this out. Boniface II, who was an Ostrogoth, becomes the very first Germanic pope in 530 AD. Then, centuries later, Gregory V becomes the first German pope in 996. And the time gap between them? 466 years. Now that's a tiny deviation, just 4 years off from our main pattern of 462. The echo is showing up again, but this time within the church. And believe it or not, it happens again. The second Germanic pope, Pelagius II, takes office in 579. The second German pope, Clement II, takes office in 1046, and the gap this time, 467 years, just 5 years off our number. So this isn't a one-off thing, it's a repeating signal, and it's always hovering right around that mysterious 462-year mark, connecting everything from kings to popes. So let's just do a quick recap of what we've seen here. We have these huge life events for Theoderic and Otto that are separated by exactly 462 years. We have a way to reframe that gap into a perfect symbolic 500 years using a different calendar. We've got 2 dynasties that lasted for the exact same length of time, 105 years. We see these hauntingly similar tragic fates for their heirs. And to top it all off, we have echoes of the very same time gap in the history of the papacy.
So, the evidence is all laid out. At what point does this stop being a series of wild coincidences and start pointing to something else? Some kind of deeper, hidden pattern in the way history unfolds? Well, that's the question we're left with. What do you think is going on here?